You thought Invigorating Icon was a crutch? Siege isn't even live yet, and this mindset is already setting in. Unmatched Zeal. Melee finishers of extremists or terminus level enemies additionally restore health by 30% for any squad member. Yep, we know what this does. We know. And here's somebody in the chat should have picked Vanguard. There's going to be some fun, totally not polarizing and or toxic arguments around this perk after Siege drops tomorrow. Ah, boy. All right. Now, obviously, this is just a little example of this. I guess this player could be, embellishing this a little bit. Perhaps Unmatched Zeal is going to be really good for Siege mode. Is it going to be a crutch? No, I think no. No. Here's the thing about, like, especially Invigorating Icon as well. I think both these perks are actually fairly balanced for hard Siege mode. Now, for easy Siege mode, or normal Siege mode, I don't want to call it easy Siege mode because it's still, normal Siege mode can still be pretty hard as well. So I guess in Siege mode in general, when it comes to Unmatched Zeal, for sure, it's going to be very useful, likely to be the strongest perk in Siege mode. However, I don't really see it as a crutch because if you're getting healing from a lot of extremists, you're dealing with a lot of extremists. Dealing with a lot of extremists is practically like the second to last stage to mastering Siege mode. I guess the last stage of mastering Siege mode would be to be able to deal with multiple terminus enemies. And frankly, if Unmatched Zeal can get you in a position to deal with those two situations, which is going to be the key to pushing into higher waves in Siege mode, thus increasing the difficulty, I just don't think we can really use the word crutch here, ultimately. Now, I understand what their concern is. Their concern is, it's a fair concern that people are going to get toxic around this perk, and yes, you will have people in the chat asking for Vanguard, but at this point, I have to admit, if there's somebody on your team who's desperately asking for Vanguard, you guys, even if you don't want to play Vanguard, or if you don't have a Vanguard on the team, whatever, you still just need to push through with what you are using because ultimately you're going to have a better time with it. And again, I think Siege mode has a great, I would consider Siege mode endgame content, but at the same time, it kind of has like a difficulty adjuster. I think when it comes to normal Siege mode and getting through waves 1 through 15, it is definitely going to be doable without max gear and everything, but you should still be in a position to understand what you're using. It's still like Siege mode still is, it goes into the end game territory. So if you jump into Siege mode just to complete waves 1 through 5, I mean, that's fine. But still, you might get a better benefit from just going into, operations on like Ruthless or something, as far as, leveling your stuff up. But still, you can still level your stuff up in Siege mode. It might take a bit longer, but you still get a pretty big benefit from that. But the better benefit you get is going to be squarely around your team and your leveled gear and everything. So ultimately, I would say Unmatched Zeal, hard Siege mode is probably a little bit more its territory as far as getting in toxic arguments over it. I don't think normal Siege mode really requires you to have Unmatched Zeal. However, hard Siege mode, wave 15 up, Unmatched Zeal is probably going to help you complete those, deep stages. However, you have to understand, getting to wave 15 in hard Siege mode is still going to net you 10,000 experience. So that's still really nice. That's still really nice. However, in that case, it's hard Siege mode. Do you actually need that experience? So, I guess still, this is going to come down to what team you are using. But still, this is definitely the type of conversations that we are looking to avoid. So I'm just trying my best to clarify what I can clarify here for people who are a little bit worried about people getting toxic over Unmatched Zeal. Ultimately, this will be the perk that will like define, how hard you push into the hard Siege mode. However, for normal Siege mode, if you see somebody getting toxic over you not picking Vanguard, who cares? Don't give in to that sort of thing. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, you thought Invigorating Icon was a crutch. I think both these perks overall are definitely going to be, they're they're going to adjust. They're going to adjust to the difficulty. The harder siege mode gets, the better these perks are getting. I don't really consider them crutches in that sense, because if they weren't throwing a whole bunch of extremist and terminus enemies at us, we wouldn't be getting a whole bunch of healing from it. You know what I mean? It just seems fair, to be completely honest. But I think the fact that these perks can difficulty adjust. I mean, I would call anything that difficulty scales as well, like Purity of Purpose. I would consider those perks definitely what you would want in hard siege mode, because it is confirmed that those perks will scale with the difficulty throughout the waves. Like, I think wave 1 through 5, wave 6 through 10, wave 11 through 15. I'm pretty sure the higher you get in the waves, the higher your difficulty scaling perks will get. I'm pretty sure that was the case. And again, with Invigorating Icon and Extremist, obviously Unmatched Zeal, both these are healing, so you really should have some healing in siege mode. But yeah, in no shot are you not going to be able to complete normal siege mode without Unmatched Zeal. Now, like hard siege mode, and especially wave 15, it might get there. But yeah, ultimately, this is definitely going to be something players need to play around, just in case you don't have a Vanguard on your team. Do you have a Bonds of Brotherhood? Do you have Invigorating Icon? If you're sitting there with Tactical, Assault, and Sniper, I mean, at least the Sniper has some sort of capability to res you guys pretty fast, and then not to mention the Sniper also has Purification. Honestly, that's not too bad. That's honestly not too bad, to be honest. Tactical, Sniper, and Assault. It's honestly really just the Assault class who's kind of like out of luck in this situation, just because of the lack of ammo regeneration means it's kind of hard for the Assault class to continuously get their contested health refilled, because of how melee and contested health interact. Melees do not get you as much contested health. So anyway, that's pretty much all I have to say about this. If you're somehow worried about Unmatched Zeal getting you into a toxic argument over siege mode, just if you don't want anyone to criticize what perks you're using, definitely you can jump into normal siege mode, and then if you just complete waves 1 through 15 on normal siege mode and you still want the game to get harder, well, the game will get harder from there. Siege mode is perfect. It's honestly such a great designed horde mode, and I am very interested to see how people are going to receive it. So yeah, we will be here. But ultimately, I feel like this is a good one to touch on right before the update. I didn't think about it, but yeah, this sub will go to crap when it drops. I can see the titles now. PSA, if you're a Vanguard, the only team perk you should have is Unmatched Zeal, otherwise you're a detriment. Bulwarks without healing banner, why do you hate your team? Dude, if anything, Bulwark, the banner is still really good, man. Dude, Glory Shield, Purity of Purpose, and then have the banner where it gives your team extra damage. Dude, you guys will be clearing out waves so fast you might not even need healing. But yeah, so ultimately, dude, I can't wait. I still can't even decide what class I want to use. I've said this for months, but every class desperately needs to either regenerate health from executions, oh yeah, Adrenaline Rush, by default, or they need a default perk which can give heals dependent on class actions. Hit 5+ enemies with ground pound plus health. Oh wow, wait, I like that. Wait, we've talked about reworking assault perks for a while, and yeah, I did my whole spiel on the assault class as well. So hopefully we see something like that. But ultimately, I think if the assault class just had some way to regenerate ammo, I think they would be in a pretty good position. Especially considering regenerating ammo with the plasma pistol, that does sound pretty strong. But yeah, Adrenaline Rush, sure, but still, you actually can buy stims pretty easily in siege mode. If you buy 1 pack of stims, you get 3 stims. So it's pretty wild. So all you need to do is have one teammate buy stims, and that could be the teammate that heals themselves. So yeah, ultimately, we're going to work this stuff out. But yeah, seeing people freak out over, team comps in siege mode, that's definitely not something I will be looking forward to. So we're kind of getting ahead of it now. People are gonna lose their mind when their team comp isn't gonna be Tactical Vanguard heavy. Yeah, Tactical Vanguard heavy is definitely going to be like the best team comp, because that destruction capability plus Unmatched Zeal is insane. But yeah, but to be completely honest, there's not a bad team comp. Even the team comp in my head that I tried to pick a bad team comp around still has Sniper and Tactical in it. So like that's not gonna be what would be the like Vanguard, Assault class, Sniper, like even that's still really good because you have the Vanguard, you have Unmatched Zeal. If you have a Bulwark, you have Invigorating Icon. If you have Heavy, you have Bonds of Brotherhood. Tactical has Radiating or wait no, it's Radiating Impact. I think that when they get an execution, they can explode everything around them. Plus grenade regeneration, plus scan. Heavy weapons. Sniper will have purification. I think Sniper has a really good support kit as well. When it comes to reses, they can just camo and res people. Not to mention one of their last perks on like the first column or something. Definitely can give you faster resing, which is definitely going to help out with Bonds of Brotherhood. But yeah, okay. Regardless, even in my head, when you just shove in the assault class within any two classes you want to pick, you can still find a way to make it pretty busted. I think it's ultimately going to come down to assault players and how hesitant they need to be with using the slam, because I think I just kind of basically just popped in my head that using slam is going to be more risky in siege mode just from the fact that there are more enemies to punish you for literally landing and ranged targets. So I'm more referring to the enemies you can't slam. Obviously, if there's more enemies to slam, you can actually get your cooldown back faster if you take them out, but that's if you take them out. So when you slam, if you don't immediately have your jetpack back, you are definitely going to take some ranged damage from a handful of enemies, and it gets worse over time because there's going to be more enemies. So ultimately, I feel like the assault class is going to be a little bit better on the ground, and that's pretty much what I've been practicing recently. So I'm honestly not too afraid to just jump into hard siege mode with the assault class to see how it goes. But honestly, I kind of want my first experience with siege mode to be like, I just want to play it again. To be completely honest, I've kind of been holding off on playing it on the PTS, the public test server. So I'm just really excited to play it. If I go into hard siege mode, I might be using something that's actually fully leveled, like either heavy, tactical, sniper, or bulwark or something. But yeah, we will see. But overall, I'm not too worried about people freaking out about team comps. But I am worried about people kind of asking for Unmatched Zeal every time. Siege mode on hard will legitimately be hard. People are going to have to care about meta, which people are frequently have to announce they don't care about, and optimal team composition. Oh, yeah, I mean, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, if there's nothing stopping you from saying, hey, I understand Vanguard's like the best thing, but I just don't feel like playing Vanguard. If you just say that, maybe one of the other teammates will just pick it up, you know what I mean? That's fair. But yeah, honestly, just, casual and logical communication can go a very far way. People are going to be losing more than ever, so maybe it's the time to try to plan for success. Interesting. I mean, dude, honestly, yeah, this sort of warning is definitely a good point, and I think this is definitely the point we're going to end on here, is just the fact that, dude, Siege hard mode is supposed to be endgame. So it goes both ways, guys. It goes both ways. If the devs continue to let Unmatched Zeal be as powerful as it is, especially for siege mode, and not to mention hard siege mode is going to actually be hard, we kind of have to agree that if we start complaining about this perk, they might adjust it in a way that we might not see it in a reasonable way. I don't think the devs are going to nerf Unmatched Zeal. I really don't. But I do think they are understanding of these perks when it comes to hard siege mode, and I think we need to understand that it should be hard. So yes, certain perks are going to have to be a little bit more important than others, just merely from the fact of how siege mode is supposed to operate. It is endgame content. So if you want to jump in without it, that's fine. But just understand that it is supposed to be hard. So we shouldn't really be in a position to argue that we don't need healing for hard siege mode for whatever reason. You know what I mean? Like, we shouldn't have to argue that hard siege mode should be easier because we don't want to use meta perks. I just don't see that being the case considering the nature of the endless waves. So if you keep on pushing siege mode, then, obviously some perks are going to end up being a little bit better than others, especially considering that the game's going to get harder. So, yeah, it goes both ways. Let's not complain about it. But let's also understand that the reason why this perk is important is because it's good, and hard siege mode is hard, so we need good perks. So, understand? You know what I mean? Just understand that it goes both ways. As long as we don't complain about it being too good or whatever, and as long as we understand that it does have a place in hard siege mode, then the devs won't have a reason to nerf it. Okay. essentially. But yeah, honestly, the devs already talked about invigorating icon and intimidating aura as well with Bulwark. However, considering that they didn't really do any tweaks for that in the PTS, and not to mention considering intimidating aura is still bugged, I really don't see them adjusting it without fixing those perks immediately. And I think in that case, they're definitely going to take their time, because if they just end up, rushing out fixes for the fixes on quote, I don't think the Bulwark needs to be fixed. But I think if they're looking at it in that way, if they just rush something out, then it would definitely potentially be worse than if they just took their time, obviously. So, yeah, ultimately, I don't expect anything to really change with the meta. However, things like healing, splash damage, all those things are going to increase their effectiveness as you continuously go on these waves, because those are going to be the things that you need, essentially. But, okay, yes. That's pretty much all I have to say about this. Let me know in the comments how you guys feel about this. Hopefully people don't get toxic over this perk. That's definitely what we're trying to get ahead of here. Trying to get ahead of all these conversations with people who may be complaining about how hard siege mode is and why we have to play certain perks. Yeah, just understand these perks are good for a reason. And if you're in hard siege mode, you should have good perks. If you're on normal siege mode, you should be fine running whatever you want. And then not to mention, normal siege mode still has endless waves, so you can still have fun increasing the difficulty as it goes on. So nobody's actually missing out on anything. You know what I mean? But yeah, let me know in the comments how you guys feel about this, and thanks for watching.